Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. International News Review.
Welcome back. We are with Steve Oken, the CEO of APAC Advisors, and Lisa Oak, guest host with me this morning. Steve, good morning.
Good morning. And let me just note for the record, this is my fifth show of the month, which of course ties a record. You can't do any more than 5. And that's one more each than either you or Neil.
It will be reflected in your pay packet. So duly noted there. All right, Steve, we got to start with Signalgate. This week, a judge has ordered that the Trump administration needs to preserve messages sent on Signal between March 11th, March 15th. These, of course, were the attack plans that the Secretary of Defense put on a thread to about 18 people, including an Atlantic journalist from the Atlantic magazine. Where are we at with this Signalgate, as they're calling it?
Well, look, the first thing here is it shows why you don't have communications like this on a non-secure channel. I mean, Glenn, Lisa, I'll ask you, how many times have you sent an email message or a WhatsApp message to someone by mistake?
A couple too many times.
It happens.
And it's always that topic that you really wish that person did not see, right? Or even on WhatsApp as well.
That inverse relationship between the level of embarrassment and the likelihood of sending it to the wrong person. And this is why you don't do it, because they made the same exact mistake that we all make on WhatsApp and on email, and they put this an editor of the Atlantic, who's an anti-Trumper, if you want to put him in that category. He would say he's just telling the truth, right? But you put somebody who's very skeptical of the Trump administration in a chat by mistake. But that's why you don't do this, and so it all starts with their apparently absolute disdain for following government regulation, for following protocol, for understanding security, and they just think the rules don't apply to them, and then you end up having this classified chat, whether they want to call it that or not. You have this classified chat, and it could have been a disaster. And one would hope, I am not thinking it will happen, one would expect that they'll learn from this. And they're not going to.
Steve,
it is just crazy.
Let me just say, Trump and Hegseth and all these guys have come out and said this was not classified information. And of course, there's been a lot of pushback from many folks currently serving and past in the military saying this is absolutely under that guise of information that should not have, that should have been absolutely highly classified. Is there any validity to this idea that it wasn't information that was serious enough to be considered classified?
None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. What word do you want me to use? I mean, look at what this administration, which is so hypocritical to this point, when they were in front of a federal judge, and the federal judge said, and this was those immigration flights where they were flying illegal immigrants to El Salvador, and they said to a federal judge, we cannot tell you anything about these flights, and they invoked what is called the state secrets privilege. How is it possible that a flight of illegal immigrants is a state secret, but attack plans where you are putting U.S. pilots at risk of death by doing this? That's not classified. That's not a state secret. But, oh, no, when it comes to these flights of illegal immigrants, that is state secret. Of course, they're hypocritical. They know this. This is the model that Trump has used, and there's no validity, Glenn, to what they are saying about whether or not this should be classified or is it a state secret. Of course it is.
Where do we go from here, Steve? There have been already hearings that have happened, and a number of Trump administration officials have been, called to task. Are we expecting any kind of, serious blowback on any of the actors involved in this particular chat group?
I mean, the short answer is probably not. That's because if there were accountability, it would show that there was something wrong that happened, and President Trump himself would have to say this was a mistake, and he won't say that. I mean, he'll say it was a minor mistake. I think he's gone that far, but that's just not their MO. Now, not only, I mean, the Democrats are obviously up in arms over this, but the Senate Republicans are too. And the chair, the senator from Mississippi, who's the chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee, has said this raises questions of the use of unclassified networks to discuss sensitive and classified information. It's concerning, but you're sharing information with those who don't have proper clearance and the need to know. And he wants to know why this happened, how it happened, and how do you prevent it from ever happening again. So hopefully they will listen to at least the Republican chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Yeah, Stephen, as any evolved leader or knows, if you make a mistake, you apologize. From a media training perspective, from a leadership perspective, this could have blown over a lot faster than it has if they'd simply apologized instead of attacking Jeffrey Goldberg as being a second-rate journalist, which, clearly he's not. My question to you, though, is did you find it interesting that on the chat they were talking about economic gain that they could extract in return for this move?
Was I surprised by it? No. This is the approach of Donald Trump, and it was in his first term, and it's even more so in his second term. Everything is transactional, and so if the view here, and there was a rift certainly between the vice president and it looks like the defense secretary on this point, where Vice President Vance was basically saying, well, our securing the shipping lanes by attacking the Houthis is something the Europeans should be paying for, and even Defense Secretary Hegseth says no, that's not this is in our interest too. But no, it shows that everything is transactional when it comes to the Trump administration. Trade is transactional, national security is transactional, everything is transactional, and if anybody had any doubt about that, they better not doubt it after reading the contents of this chat.
Steve, what is the security element of this? What should it say, or what do you think it's saying to America's partners in our region here? We think about Japan, we think South Korea, Philippines, Taiwan, Singapore, of course, Australia. What is their posture going to be towards sharing highly secret information? Will that change, or can it not change because of the nature of how the information has to be shared?
Well, look, they were already concerned, and this goes back to President Trump's first term. I mean, in his first term, if you recall, he took a satellite image of an Iranian launch site, which was classified, or it's classified until he says it isn't. But you should never post that on social media. Of course, he did that. There was a meeting he had, if you remember, with the Russian foreign minister, where he's telling him about intelligence that they received from the Israelis, which, of course, the Israelis don't want that known, what their intelligence sources are, let alone having it shared with the Russians, let alone talking about it on television.
Right.
So there was always concern. So look, when Donald Trump took classified documents and stored them in his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, all of this attitude towards classification has given anyone concern about what, if you give something to the Americans, is it going to be protected? Because people's lives are at risk. Yeah. I mean, getting a lot of this intelligence, some of it is human intelligence, and you have to protect those sources. They're really worried about that. And in fact, in this chat, that the Atlantic held back the name of a CIA operative who was getting this intelligence that was leading to the attack plans that were disclosed. So yes, there's great concern, but also, Glenn, to your point, you have to share with the Americans because they're your national security partners, and there's the thing called the Five Eyes,
right,
which are the intelligence sharing countries. But of course, it gives them grave concern. They had it already, and this makes it even worse.
Yeah, Steve, we got to move on to our next topic. You were in Hong Kong this past week, taking part in the Milken conference there. What was the vibe? Some of the comments I saw you post were, there is confidence that is coming back regarding Hong Kong and its place in the business world in this part of the world. What was your takeaway from the discussions you had, from the tone of the conference and what people were saying there? Is confidence in Hong Kong on the rise again?
Okay, is it on the rise, and will it ever come back, are two different questions, of course, right? Yes, it's on the rise. I mean, I think that the mood in Hong Kong is that, between COVID and the national security law and everything happening with U.S.-China tensions, which all hit at once, that there was, that there was a mass exodus, in a way, of people from Hong Kong to Singapore and maybe some to Dubai and other places, and that exodus is now ending, and you're hearing anecdotally about how some people are now coming back to Hong Kong, and a little bit of Singapore bashing going on when, even publicly, when I was there, saying, look, in Hong Kong we have mountains and we have hiking trails and we have, somewhat of a change in season. And
they do, actually. It actually is pretty amazing. I miss the hiking there badly. I used to hike there all the time when I was living there.
Good Lord, if I heard one more people tell me how great the hiking was.
Oh, the Mackelhouse Trail is brilliant throughout both the Hong Kong Island and the New Territories.
Yeah, Hong Kong's amazing, but Steve, what about the premise? What about the argument that, Singapore is edging Hong Kong out, despite what you were hearing over there in Hong Kong. And of course, they have a wonderful product over there, and they're two very different countries. But Singapore's been doing a lot in terms of attracting private wealth, family offices, giving tax concessions to investors who are coming in. Look at what's happening with the property market over here. I mean, just between us, don't you get the sense that Singapore is winning out?
Well, and this is the point that, and I will give this point to Hong Kong, and then I will just give my counter to it, which I was interviewed when I was up there. But look, and Lisa, I'm with you on Singapore in a lot of ways, but Hong Kong still has the financial services center there is much more, it's much stronger, it's much more vibrant. Look, the Hong Kong Exchange is more vibrant than the SGX. The investment banks, the law firms, the accounting firms, all of the ecosystem is much stronger in Hong Kong. Now, some of it is Singapore's taking away some of it, but the core of it is still in Hong Kong. Now, the question is, and this is the point I was asking, when the U.S. starts to view Hong Kong as just another Chinese city, as opposed to a distinct entity from the mainland, if it becomes another Chinese city and it is treated like that in terms of financial services and customs and tariffs and national security and everything else, what is that going to mean for Hong Kong? And that's really the open question. And they were, at best, ignoring that massive geopolitical risk that they are facing right now.
Has the needle moved in that area? Is it moving towards control of these parts of the economy?
Well, it's what is the view? And boy, the huge news up there right now is Panama and the Panama Canal and the sale by Hutchinson, maybe, of the ports that they have there, which is a Hong Kong company, which Donald Trump is demanding. And Donald Trump says, you must sell those ports because you are controlled by China. The Hong Kong company goes to sell the ports, and then Beijing says, no, you can't, which proves the point, of course, that Donald Trump is making. It certainly proves it to him and to others in the United States that Hong Kong's no different than China. And if Hong Kong is no different than China, then that financial services, hub and headquarters and advantage that they have had, for decades now, that may not will, but that could be diminished, if not go away. And that's really the existential question for Hong Kong right now.
All right, Steve. First of all, Aloysius came on and said, congratulations for being on the radio more than Neil and Glenn. Aloysius is in your corner. Laura Entwistle joining us on our chat this morning as well. Steve wants to know, are we talking Canada this morning? PM Carney saying that U.S. is no longer a reliable partner. And actually, he said the old relationship with the U.S. is over. So let's talk about that right now. Is the U.S. relationship with both Canada and Mexico, for that matter. Are they changed in a way that they can never go back to the old footing that we were on with both of the neighbors of the U.S.?
Canada, Mexico, Panama, Greenland, EU, most of Japan, Korea, everybody. Wake up, people. We are in a new era. Whether you like it or not, whether you think what Donald Trump is doing is great or not, it is different. And Mark Carney gets it. And Mark Carney is 100% right. And every leader should be following and understanding that this is true for them, too. This is where we are now. The America First trade policy, America First foreign policy. This is a different world, and and we better get into this new one sooner rather than later, because it doesn't matter whether you want it to happen or not. It's happening, and Mark Carney gets it.
What is this? This is maybe a little too early to predict. What happens with the next administration in the U.S., assuming that it's maybe not a Trump or a MAGA administration? What do they do to get back to some sort of normal relationships or past relationships with the American allies? Is that it's probably even too early to even think about that, but. What do you think?
No, I don't think it's too early, and the answer is because we certainly obviously don't know the answer, but it's years, if not decades, before we get to some new equilibria.
Yeah.
The international trading system that was built up literally over 80 years, right, post World War II to today, Donald Trump is basically destroying that in 100 days. We don't know what's going to replace it, and certainly if the next president 4 years from now is not Donald Trump, not a MAGA, not America First, be it a Republican or a Democrat, allies and partners aren't going to trust the United States to say, oh, this was an aberration, we're just going to go back to the way it's always been, because they learned their lesson. Right now, Donald Trump had his first term. Joe Biden wins. The United States and Biden and people from the Democratic world, and you could even say the moderate Republican world, say, well, that was a one-off. That 4 years is an aberration. We're now back to where we always was. We're going to go back to a multilateral trading system. We're going to go back to working with partners and allies, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Trump comes back. Why can you trust the United States, even if Donald Trump loses and America First loses and MAGA loses, and again, Republican or Democrat, they say we're going to go back to the old system. People don't go, well, how can we know?
Yeah.
So you can't. We're done, Glenn. We're done with the old system for years, if not longer. We don't know what the new system is going to be. There's going to be maybe pluses, certainly from my personal perspective, minuses to it, but you got to adapt.
Yeah, Steve, I agree. The multilateral order of the past 70 years, it's over, and the veil has been lifted. I'll weigh in on the Canadian side of things. The veil has been lifted from Canadians' eyes, because before we were okay with the old resource economy, the production economy, different administrations, conservative, liberal, they stuck to that game plan. And I think what they're realizing now is everyone's an economic nationalist, and Canada has to be that as well. And we need to protect our IP rights, which is where we've really fallen behind. Canada makes 60 cents. Canadians make 60 cents on every dollar that Americans make. So I think right now there's this sense of, wow, we've really dropped the ball. Is it going to be Carney? Will it be the Conservatives? It's anyone's game right now. A poll has just come out putting them neck and neck, whereas 3 weeks ago, Carney, Liberals didn't stand a chance. But Trump has been like, I think of it as being like a political Zamboni.
Right.
He has cleared the ice, and it is anyone's election.
Well, and we got, Steve, I just want to throw this in before you reply to what Lisa just said. You know, the fact that Trump and Carney just had a call earlier today or last night, actually, and Carney says that Trump, quote, respected Canada's sovereignty in their first call, and as Tricia Craig pointed out on our chat, Trump called him PM and not governor. So I guess that's maybe there is some room for constructive dialogue between the two. What do you think?
Boy, you're reaching.
Well, you know, sometimes hope springs eternal.
And I think, and Lisa, I just want to say one other thing which we need to figure out, or certainly is all people need to figure out. Will Canada? Look, you can't. If what Donald Trump wants is he wants every country to deal with the U.S. bilaterally, deal with the U.S. one-on-one, because like the U.S. unquestionably, it's the biggest, strongest, most powerful country in the world, politically, economically, diplomatically, militarily. And anytime the U.S. deals with anyone one-on-one, it is going to win from the U.S. perspective. Which is why when Canada and the EU have said, you know what, maybe we'll coordinate our response to your tariffs. And Donald Trump said, you had better not. If you coordinate, I'm going to attack you even more, right, with economically, because he's afraid of countries coming together. So Canada has got to, every country, but Canada has got to figure out, how do we make the TPP, the trade agreement of which Canada is a part of in the Asia Pacific, how do we make that stronger? How do we make that more effective? How do we use that to somehow grow our economy? How do we bring more like-minded countries into that trading pact, of which the U.S. used to be and isn't anymore? So Canada's got to figure out, like everybody's got to figure out, we need to, multilateralism works. And they're going to need to find a new multilateral system. And that's why, Glenn, I'm saying this is years before we get to some equilibrium.
All right. We got to close out today with twice in the past couple of weeks, an commercial airline pilot has forgotten his passport. In this most recent case, United Airlines Boeing 787 from L.A. to Shanghai had to turn around last weekend 2 hours into the flight because one of the pilots realized he didn't have his passport with him. What the heck is going on here?
Well, first, let me just say that the flight landed in Shanghai, its eventual destination, about 6 hours behind schedule, which, of course, is par for the course for United. So,
whoa, ba-da-bum.
Oh, I kid because I love. Now, the most serious thing about this is that it shows, and boy, we'll tie this back into Signalgate in the top of the show, it shows a lack of discipline. It shows that they're not following their process. You have a checklist that says, do you have your passport? Do you have your license? Whatever it is that you need going internationally, you have a checklist, and you have to follow that. And they clearly have lost the process. They've lost discipline. And to me, this is much more worrying because, again, it cost them 6 hours. It cost them money. You had to dump fuel, because you diverted and you have to land with lighter fuel.
Well, people might have missed connecting flights and whatever else, right?
I think you guys are being too hard.
Okay, so Lisa's going to jump in here because her wonderful husband, Sanjay, is a pilot who has never forgotten his passport.
Never forgotten
Lisa,
his passport.
Go ahead.
He's with Singapore Airlines, but come on. These guys are human. They're under an incredible amount of stress. They get it right most of the time. So I'm going to absolutely come to the defense of the pilot here now. I don't think it's indicative of a broader lack of discipline at United.
No, this is. Or maybe you should say it could be, right? If you have when you are a pilot, I know that you have, and you're a mechanic or whatever, airlines have checklists because of all the reasons Glenn just said. If something goes wrong, it can kill people, and if not kill people, really inconvenience people. Airlines have checklists. Singapore Airlines has a checklist before you take off for every single thing you do. Having your passport needs to be on that checklist, and I would be very concerned if I was United to say, okay, is this a one-off? Because you're right, Lisa, people make mistakes, sure. Or is this indicative of something else? And I would assume that they're going through it to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And worse off, that other things aren't being forgotten, not just a pilot's passport.
Landing gear and stuff.
Did I put the landing gear down or didn't I? Let me think about that.
I will go with Lisa, though. First of all, it's great to be back on air with you. I can't remember. We did CNBC together. You used to have me on when you were the host so long ago. So it's great to be back. But the thing is, and I do want to give props to the pilot on this. He was honest.
Yeah.
He got on the intercom, or he got on the speaker, and said, "Hey, I forgot my passport." He could have lied.
Yeah.
He could have, they could have hidden this. So look, I'll give huge props to the pilot for being honest.
There we go, Steve. We got to leave it there, but thank you so much. We will see you. Oh wait, we won't see you next week, will we?
No, you'll see me on the phone next week. I'll be in New York.
Gotcha.
So you get me next week, but not the week after.
Okay.
Gets around that,
All
Steve
right.
Oken.
See,
Thanks.
Glenn and Neil, when I can't make the studio, I'm still on.
Oh, gotta go.
Wrap.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.